Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week I'm making a start on the guitar neck. See you in a minute. Now essentially the neck is probably the most important component of the whole guitar. If you don't get the neck right, it's not going to play. The fretboard's got to be right, the actual neck has got to be flat, level, square and hold a truss rod properly. So we're going to take our blanks of wood that I'd prepared roughly when I was doing the materials a few weeks ago, and we're going to make a start and get a neck blank made. Right, we've got two neck blanks now that want taking down to about 18 millimeters. They're currently anywhere between 24, 25, 24, a little bit thinner on the one edge where the saw caught them, but they need to be about 18 mil finished, and then along with the neck of about 7, that should give me 7.5, should give me my 1 inch thick neck. So we'll take them over to the thicknesser, get a decent edge on two faces and the bottom, and then run through the thicknesser to get them sorted. I'm putting them on this little sled to try and cut down snipe, although it's plenty long enough not to have to worry too much. The only thing I've got a slight concern over is that there are a couple of wormholes in there, but we'll have to wait and see what comes out and then work with it. Right, so that's two neck blanks, happily thicknessed and jointed. We'll ignore the two that I did first of all that I realised when I'd finished were actually the offcuts from these, and I spent an afternoon doing those and then realised I'd done the wrong ones when the headstock pattern didn't fit. But maybe that will come in for something in the future, whether it's anything to do with the guitar or not. We'll put those to one side. Those are done now. We'll mark a centre line on them and start and lay the profiles on and get an idea of where they're going to go. There are a couple of small holes where they've had worm in the timber at some point, which I think I can avoid most of, if not all of, and I'll try and get any damage that's really noticeable either underneath the fretboard or avoid it altogether by cutting where it's not needed. But we'll just mark those up now and see where we go. Now I cut the two blanks for the neck out of the single piece of timber the other day, ripped them lengthways, and I did mention at the time it probably should have been quarter sawn, ideally, but at the time I didn't know what I was into, so I bought what I thought was right. This one's fine. It's been there for a week now, and really apart from having to avoid wormholes when I set the guitar neck out, that'll be fine. But the spare, which has come out of the same piece of timber, has, as I suspected and why I left it, developed quite a rock in it. It's got probably 5 or 6 mil of twist in it, which is something I was half afraid of. I had the same worries about the neck, the fret blanks, but they're fine. But this one is way out. That has gone a long way, so I'll have a quick measure up and see if I can salvage it, but it does look as if it's pretty much beyond redemption. Just had a thought. I went up in the roof space over the bench, and I found the two offcuts that I erroneously planed up in the first place, and they are perfectly stable and flat and straight. It's weird, out of a piece of timber that I've taken 4 pieces, one of them has gone horrendously badly and all the others have stayed exactly fine. This is about 3/4 of an inch too narrow, but that's only on the headstock, and it's only need be on a bit of the headstock that's more decoration than anything. It's not doing anything. The tuna holes will be over the other side. So what I'm now thinking is that if I actually glued a piece on that at a place where it's suitably matching the grain, if I can get a decent joint on that, which I think I probably can, I think it will become almost invisible, if not invisible, like that. So for the sake of just a small piece out of this twisted neck blank being glued to one that's flat, I can then actually make a flat neck blank that I'll be much happier with. So I think that's the way I'm going, so we'll do that. Right, so I've now got a neck blank, I've got a fretboard. The two combined should be an inch really. That's ideally where I'm aiming for. So that's 25.56, 25.48, 25.45. So that's about right for thicknesses. What I need to do now is mark out the neck blank for the truss rod. To do that I need to put a centre line down it. As long as it's parallel with the side, that's really all that matters, because I shall be using the router to route out the truss rod. Mark my nut position then at that point on here. Needs to be about there. So that will give me all the positioning I need to route out the truss rod. Again, these will only be lines to roughly cut to with the bandsaw. So, truss rod. Let's just get the truss rod a minute. So there's my truss rod. I'm not going the conventional route, which is to have a hole at the top of the neck that you go in with an Allen key and you can turn that. Early Strats had a single truss rod that was routed into the back of a completely solid neck. I'm not going down that route either. What I'm doing is I've got a spoked one which will just be hidden underneath the end of the fretboard. There'll be a small cutout on just past the 21st fret that will just allow you to get access to it. So I can mark the length. I want it to be, as I say, just a fraction within that end up there. So that gives me a point up to which I go with my router. I need a 6mm slot router ring, and that part of it's fairly straightforward. Once that slot is done and to the right depth, I shall need to widen it out slightly for where the truss rod thickens out there, but I can deal with that once I've started to get somewhere close. Right, so before I put the fence on, I need to establish where the end of the router is, and that will be the point I've got to stop when I'm pushing the timber up through, because I don't want it to go beyond the end of the fretboard. So I need to establish this side of the router because that's the way I'll be pushing it in. I've set the cutter so that it's at its widest point, pointing down. Got a right angle square on the T-track. Just push that up till I'm just kissing the blade of the cutter, and I'll put that on there. And then we'll just burnish that down. And then what that means is that side mark I made on the neck blank there, when that touches that piece there, that black to white transition, that means I'll have gone far enough. So first off, I think I'll just run a very shallow cut just to see if it all works. Looks okay. Spot on for finish time. That should do just about right. That now is just right to get flush under the fretboard. So all I need to do is just slightly relieve the first part for the wheel and the slightly broader pieces there, and I'll just put slightly larger bits in the router. Just square the end of the truss rod cavity off. Right, so we've got the neck just about finished now as far as routing out for the truss rod is concerned. Need to be a little bit of work on the fretboard just to relieve the back a little bit and to make an access for that truss rod winding wheel. That's about it as far as that's concerned now. Next time I get onto this build we'll be cutting out the neck, but I've broken my bandsaw blade at the moment. I can't get on with that until I get a new one. Then we can move on and do the shaping of the neck as well. So hopefully that'll come in the next episode of the neck build. In the meantime, we'll be doing something different next week. Hopefully you'll join me for that then, and we look forward to seeing you then. Bye!